The American presidents were people like you and like me, or at least that's how the founders intended them to be. Hi, my name's Teddy Ebby. Welcome back to my reoccurring segment where we're breaking down the nicknames of the US presidents from the past. Last time, we talked about the three most popular positive nicknames of US President Franklin Pierce. His charm and military experience won him the presidency, but unfortunately, he didn't have the political knowledge or moral clarity to keep the job for long. Today, we're going to be going over his three most popular negative nicknames, insults reserved specifically for him. Starting off with a great one where he was called Fainting Frank, or the Fainting General. You see, Pierce's opponents seized on rumors and actual events of Franklin Pierce fainting during speeches and public events. While largely anecdotal, these rumors were woven into a negative nickname that would haunt him. The nickname was woven into a narrative that he was physically unsteady and lacked the nerve for high office.
You don't have the nerve.
At the same time as his supporters were emphasizing his physical handsomeness, his enemies were rallying against him and accusing him of being weak. And in 19th century politics, a physical weakness could very easily turn into what people saw as a character flaw. While the truth behind the negative nickname was mostly political theater, it stuck because it was easy to print in newspapers. And it unfortunately fit incredibly well with rumors of his drinking problem, mixing him to negative nickname number 2, where he was referred to as the hero of many a well-fought bottle. A riff on the expression hero of a many well-fought battle, this nickname talks about his reputation for excessive drinking that was exacerbated by some legitimate tragedies that happened during his lifetime. The public nature of the death of all 3 of his children and his wife's struggle to cope with those events mixed its way into some rather salacious rumors. A legitimate struggle with alcoholism was turned into a political weapon by his enemies, implying an utter lack of judgment and discipline characteristic for military men. But
now, let me be clear.
This smear muddied some facts. Yes, Pierce did drink, and yes, he struggled with this grief, but there's really very little evidence that he continued to struggle with alcoholism while in the White House. But to his enemies, that didn't matter. The rhyme-like phrase was memorable and just enough to undermine public confidence in his leadership. That public confidence being sorely needed in the event that inspired negative nickname number 3, where he was referred to frequently as the Bleeding Kansas President. This nickname was used because although Congress proposed the bill, Pierce signed off and enforced the Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854. Pierce's government leaned heavily on the idea of popular sovereignty. This was the idea that the people of Kansas should decide whether it was a slave state or free state by popular vote. As the territories of Kansas and Nebraska sought to become states, this would set the stage for a miniature civil war. Bands and militias of pro-slavery individuals in neighboring Missouri would cross the border to intimidate, entice fraud out of local electors, and kill to influence the vote. Likewise, free staters would flood the state in an attempt to keep it abolitionist allied and free of slavery. And though both sides would request federal help, it was the pro-slavery side that Pierce would side with. Though Kansas would enter the Union as a free state, it wouldn't be until 3 years after Pierce left office, and not until enough senators left office to join the Confederacy that the vote could go through. Pierce's critics argued that he sat by and didn't do enough, and some even went a step further, saying that he engineered the conflict to his political benefit.
You planned this all along, didn't you?
Many historians argue that Pierce's actions had catastrophic human consequences and was one of the last steps before an inevitable civil war. If his predecessor, Millard Fillmore, had been compromising too much in order to maintain the peace, Pierce was pouring metaphorical gasoline on the secessional fire.
That was truly a legendary accomplishment, making a bad situation worse.
Pierce's negative nicknames ring of moral and practical failure, which would set up his successor for disaster. That successor being none other than the 15th President of the United States, James Buchanan. Once again, my name's Teddy Ebby. These have been the 3 most popular negative nicknames of President number 14, Franklin Pierce. Join me next time when we talk about James Buchanan's 3 most popular positive nicknames.